to a mockingbird, make it fly away. Yet as our head turns gray, everything is far from it's not the end of the world. No, no. At least it's not the end of the
That ride, friends. Turn down them. Get that way down. Let's get that way down. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to my 501st stream here on Twitch. 501 times, friends. I've hit that start streaming button, and every single time, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say about it. It's so weird. So weird when it happens. What's up, everybody? Hey, Blaine. Hey, Zangers. Friends, thank you very much for all of your love and support. Everything you do and have done to make this channel a possibility. Without you, friends, there's no channel. There's just not. It's just how it goes. Unfortunately, it's just the way the world works. Just throw her back there. Oh, no worries. No worries, Zangers. No worries. This is going to be a really interesting stream today. First of all, happy it was this Wednesday. We made it. Oh, we made it. So today, friends, I don't. For those of you who may or may not have been here for the previous streams, as for lack of better terms, the weirdness started ramping up. I went ahead and started kind of discussing a little bit of like my family's history. Not too detailed, of course, but just a little bit. How it all ties into current events, and I'm trying not to necessarily fit puzzle pieces together that may or may not fit. However, after today, I'll let you draw your own conclusions, friends. I am just giving you information. I'm also giving you the sources, so that way if you want to dig deeper or whatever the case may be, you're more than welcome. I encourage it. I encourage you to fact check and to go down rabbit holes. Sometimes you never know what you're going to find. I really think that there's a Ooh, let's just hold on. I gotta chill. Take a step back here. Maybe get some music on. Well, that's still like that, huh? Well then, if that's the case, where's my lo-fi there? Did they get rid of that? 1 second here, friends. In fact, I can just play this for now. I'll just play this so we have a little something in the background. Sorry. Didn't test that. Okay, so Wow. Let's just do this. Let's get rid of that. All right. I gotta show you this, friends. I literally just made this like over the last hour. Just for you, friends. Just for you. Here we go. The new classroom. We still have the old one. But this is the new, friends. This is the new. So we'll just kind of put that up there. There's no reason to have it out there anyway. All right, let's turn this down. Okay, so I just kind of have that background distant. All right, first of all, levels. Are we good? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? And is the music just super distant, which is good? Kind of aiming for that. Because I really want to make sure you can get a good grasp of what's happening here, friends. All right, so to briefly, just really briefly, just, you know, go over what we talked about previously. My father, who is no longer with us, he was in the United States Navy for 10 years, and he worked on this program called the SDI, which is the Strategic Defense Initiative. And that was like later his last kind of sort of mission that he was working on. And so hang on, friends. There's just some stuff going on here. Hold on. Gotta find out where you went. There you are, chat. Sorry about that. I couldn't see you. Okay. Speaking of which, I do need to add you. Golly. Again, I just made this. That way you can stay up here. There you go, friends. All right. So he was in the military and the U.S. Navy. He was an air traffic controller for vast majority of the time. Served a million tours of duty, like on several ships, including the USS Forrestal. Like, I mean, it's pretty extensive history, extensive career. Unfortunately, he decided to unalive himself one day, just out of the clear blue sky, apparently. So ever since then, I've just been kind of at a loss, obviously, but no, it's more so there's just a lot of things that don't add up, and I've kind of been trying not to create a conspiracy out of just tragedy, but the more and more I've looked into this and continue to look into this, the more it applies to current events, and current events continue to be shaped based on this program. Not saying this program is affecting, you know what I'm saying, friends. Let me show you this. All right, so I'm on the Internet Archive, and let's go ahead and get this up. All right, so my point today is to basically show you information, help you kind of maybe sort of apply it to modern times, friends. We just received what was the front page news today? It was like Elon Musk and two other major tech giants. One of them is Google, I think, or a representative from Google. They said stop with AI, like just stop. They said put it on hold for 6 months, and that way it gives us time to retrain it. So they never really went into detail as to why, but that's kind of saying something, friends. I mean, that should kind of give you an idea as far as like there's something to it. They don't just say, they don't censor things unless there's a reason. So all I can really kind of equate it to is, you know, if you think about it, AI is affecting everything, every bit of our lives, commerce, you know, the way we entertain ourselves, to how we handle business, to, I mean, everything. So you can see it starts to raise a lot of questions as far as like morals are concerned, and, you know, to what degree do we use it? You see where I'm going with this. You see why it's kind of a little bit of a scary thing. We're in the Wild West right now, friends, and so I want you to kind of go along with the journey with me, right along. Again, I encourage you to do your own research. I really do. I really, really do. So last night, friends, was it last night or the night before? One of those nights, either last night or the night before, I just had a wild hair to check this again. And I found these documents. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember. I've read quite a few. But one of them was really interesting because it talks about just various systems that they were working on. And to kind of just give you just a really brief history of this. In fact, we can even pull this up. SDI wiki. Better that I do it this way. Okay. All right. So, of course, you cannot see it, but guess what, friends? All right. So the Strategic Defense Initiative. This is again that word I just screwed up last time. It's nicknamed the Star Wars program. It's proposed military defense system intended to protect the United States from attack by ballistic strategic nuclear weapons, which includes ICBMs and submarine-launched ballistic missiles. The concept was announced on March 23rd, 1983, friends. 1983. So, fast forward 40 years later, almost to the day, here we are. It's done by President Ronald Reagan. He's all about the doctrine of mutually assured destruction, or MAD. Essentially, talking about the Cold War. Essentially, we both have guns to each other's heads, and that's really where we're at. So, he described this as a suicide pact, which is kind of interesting because that's what happened to my dad. So, anyway, Reagan called upon American scientists and engineers to develop a system that would render nuclear weapons obsolete. Pretty cool, right? So it just continues on. Basically, it involves like satellites and high-powered lasers and just all sorts of just next-level tech that a lot of folks just can only dream of. And what's crazy about this is some of these systems may or may not, can neither confirm nor deny, are still in place or were implemented and have been doing a really good job. However, I'm getting ahead. Let me show you this. Let me show you what I've read. So there's a lot of, again, we went over some stuff where a lot of the scientists, what was it? Help me out here, friends. I think it was like 18. There were like 18 scientists from, it was like the UK. And they just all were unalived magically, just out of nowhere. In fact, we can look at that. SDI unalivings. Okay, there we go. Air quotes. I'm just kind of scoot over a little here, friends. I'm not gonna be able to see all of me because I want you to be able to read along with me. All right, the 22 SDI researchers who all committed, quote, suicide. 50-year-old Alastair Beckham was a successful British aerospace projects engineer. He worked on naval defense systems, which, you know, come on, thing, work, do the thing, do the thing. It's driving me nuts. Give me a second. Hopefully it's not too boring, friends. This is actually pretty mind-blowing, in my opinion. Early chat. Hey, what's up? What is up? Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Trying to get rid of this this thing really quick. Hold on. How are you? That's what I'm saying. There we go. Sorry, that was bugging me. All right, friends. We're back. We're back. Okay. So basically what we're doing, friends, is just kind of going over this stuff really quick. Basically, I'm talking about the SDI researchers. Those of you who may have been here before, you know what I'm talking about. Just bear with me. There we go. Check this out. Okay, better. Gotta test these things. Okay. All right, so you're gonna love this. Okay, so this is about 22. I said 18, 22 various researchers that were part of this this project that just mysteriously unalive themselves, or just everything's super sus, basically. All very bizarre and violent, you know, like it said. I mean, very, very obscure ways for folks to do this. Very creative. I mean, I don't mean to be dark, but I mean, that's some of the stuff you'd be like, yeah, that's a little weird. Like, oh, pretty sus. I'm trying to find like the highlights. I don't want to read the whole thing to you, but you're more than welcome to check this out, friends. I'll post this if you want. Oh, okay, so a lot of them are automobiles. Basically just ran off the road. It's actually probably one of the more difficult ones to read, just because it's just a wall of text. I think one of them actually breaks it up, but to kind of summarize, friends, we're talking about a guy who just went to his back shed and stuck cables, like electrical cables, into his mouth and attached them to like his fillings, and then plugged it into the wall. Like, just put the wires into a socket. That's weird. Like, his wife was home and everything. It was just really weird. There's another one who apparently decided to fill their trunk with just a bunch of gas and drive full speed into a wall. That was one of them. One of them was an individual who tied a rope around their neck, the other part to a tree, got into their car, and just drove off at high speed and decapitated themselves. This is what I'm talking about. This is all the same program, all the same scientists within this program. It's a coincidence, you know? I love it. I love it. It's a coincidence. All these, like most of them, not even depressed, you know, felt great about their jobs. They had great home life. I mean, there's no reason, no history of mental illness. You know, there was nothing to basically make it make sense. So to kind of make it a little more weird, so I mentioned how my father unalived himself. Again, really strange circumstances. Disappeared, just left. Yeah, that's crazy. Just left one day with a gun, and left on his. Here's the. Oh gosh, I don't even know where to begin with this. Okay. Took a weapon with him. Got on his. This is the story. This is how it's supposed to go, right? This is the narrative. I'm going to tell you exactly. Took a shotgun, got on his motorcycle, drove to a drugstore, filled a prescription, bought a notebook, like a composition book, pens, pack of pens, 2-pack of pens, like, you know, 2 pens in 1 pack, and apparently did all this. No one noticed the shotgun either on him or, like, I don't know, maybe leaning up against. Just none of it makes sense. So he went from there and then apparently drove like a half mile into the woods at a state park, and yeah, just blew his heart out, essentially. And folks didn't find him until like a week later. So there was no one in the family identified the body. It was a closed casket funeral. Yeah. Yeah. Really weird. And the police, like, I did a recent inquiry. What was it? I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago, just to test them, because I had 3 police report numbers. Their official response, I don't have it, like, I'll show you if you want, was, oh, we destroy records after 25 years. So apparently the police force in that specific location just get rid of files, you know? Just even when it include, I get it if it's like a traffic ticket or something, but when someone dies, you would assume that they would at least keep it like as a line, like at least an item line, something, but just 100% nope, don't have it. So I went further, took a step further, and I requested his military records. It took them over a year to respond, but they did, and I received them. And holy redaction, Batman! They're just pages and pages of just blacked out stuff. Keep in mind, he passed away in 1988, so yeah, it's awful, and I don't mean to sound like I'm making light of any of this. It's just I've had my entire life to process this information, so you know, I mean, it's tragic. Don't get me wrong. I mean, growing up without a father, or you know. It was rough. It was really rough. Extremely rough. It is, but yeah, so it just kind of alludes to the fact that there was some next level stuff going on. I don't believe that the story is entirely true, because the logistics don't make sense. The ballistics don't make sense. Yeah. It's really strange. So there's apparently, there's a hot topic. Again, all these are front and center with today's, that's the whole point, is to talk about today's stuff. The hot topic in Congress recently is censorship and military, like, or not military, but like government records that are still being redacted or haven't been declassified when they still should be declassified. Like they're no longer classified, so why are they still redacted? And so a lot of these reports and stuff that they're trying to obtain, they're just, you know, just like what I'm seeing. And apparently after watching a congressional hearing the other day, there's another type of classification. So typically there's like secret, top secret, you know, and then I'm sure there's like some next level, who knows, but there's apparently like a police type of thing to where the military won't divulge information to the police, or it's information that if given out, it would be very detrimental to an individual, or you know, not necessarily national security, but you know, like you don't want someone to just be like, oh yeah, you know, we actually did have to get rid of a lot of our scientists there, so you know, they're never going to do that, and I'm never going to know the truth. That's, I mean, I'm okay with that, but this is not a way to like change the history or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's go. So I read these the other day, and really interesting stuff. So a lot of these have been declassified. Well, they're all declassified because they're on the Internet Archive. But it's really cool because some of this material, I guarantee you, passed, like went across my dad's desk. There's no way it couldn't have. I really wish I could show you his information. I just can't. I could probably just paraphrase, like kind of read it off screen and just paraphrase certain things. I might do that in just a moment, but let's see here. Hold on. Okay. Let's open this up. So I don't know if I read the dictionary. Let's see here. It's no longer property. Let's see, Seattle Pacific University. Wow, interesting. Oh, it's the limited. All right, gotcha. That's why I didn't read that one. Gotta find it. There it is. Okay, yeah, this one's good. All right. So, following an address by Edward L. Rowney, Special Advisor to the President and the Secretary of State for Arms Control Matters, before an Institute for Foreign Policy Analysis conference on the Strategic Defense Initiative, or SDI, Washington, D.C., March 14th, 1988. My father passed away May. Well, again, this is the funny part. I'm saying funny because it's funny, not funny. He has two death dates, officially like on his headstone, which is in Arlington National Cemetery, which I'm not sure how that even is possible, because typically when you unalive yourself in the military, it's not an honorable discharge and you're not eligible. But he was. So anyway, on his tombstone, it's May 24th, 1988. And there's a few reports that have that. But then there's other official reports that put the date of death on as June 6th. And I think I saw one the other day, it was like June 3rd or something stupid, or it was like the last day of May. That shouldn't happen, you know? That shouldn't happen. Oh yeah, by the way, I do have the actual police report. So they didn't know that. At least I have one of them, but they didn't know that. So I actually know what was written in some of those. Essentially, these hunters, quote hunters, were out there in the park and they stumbled across, the scene. And so they called authorities. Local police came out. As soon as they went to get him, to extract him from the woods, like Men in Black showed up. It was crazy. Then they took over, and then the police just had nothing to do with it. He was just completely, taken to the coroner's office in a government facility. I actually have that report. It's nuts, friends. But none of this exists. None of this exists. So, I digress. My introduction to what has become the Strategic Defense Initiative dates to my conversations with then Governor Reagan during the 1980 campaign. The governor had a rhetorical question. Why, he asked, should we and the Soviet Union be content to sit like two people with pistols pointed to one another's heads? How could we change this inherently dangerous situation? I answered that there were two basic approaches to bring about a change. We could agree to put our pistols down to reduce arms, or we could put on helmets, defend ourselves. At that time, however, technology was not sufficiently advanced to support the helmet option. This conference is evident that the situation has changed. In the 5 years since President Reagan's speech launching SDI, we have seen great progress in the technology of strategic defenses. Indeed, the Defense Acquisition Board has approved 6 key SDI technologies for demonstration and validation. Let's go to the next part here. It says, but I will leave the technology to the scientists. My remarks will focus on SDI in its strategic context, how it fits into our defense and arms control goals. I will also address how the Soviet Union responds to these goals. Pursuing both of the approaches I discussed with him in 1980, two of the highest priorities on President Reagan's agenda are SDI and START. Have we heard about the START treaty? Wait a minute. That's what ended and let Russia invade Ukraine. Anyway, so a treaty which would reduce strategic offensive arms. Again, I'm just giving you facts, information, draw your own conclusions, but I'm trying to let you know now all of this applies to modern stuff. And then I'm trying to get to the point later, like an even bigger point later. All right, so the president is deeply committed to developing effective. I sound like one of the folks giving one of the like a press secretary. It's like the president is deeply is committed to developing effective defenses against ballistic missiles and to working towards a strategic arms reduction treaty that will cut in half existing U.S. and Soviet nuclear arsenals in a manner that contributes to stability. Boy, we could use that right now, right? The common theme uniting these goals is security and stability. Future strategic defenses offer us hope against the threat of ballistic missile attack. A good start treaty will reduce that threat too. The overarching I can't read that word, I'm not literate, link between these objectives is the goal of enhancing deterrence. Both seek to reduce the risk of war. Gee, we could use that now, huh? Okay, sorry, I'm just throwing my own 2 cents in there. You don't need that. However, the popular debate on the role of strategic defense and deterrence often centers around the notion that START and SDI are competing objectives. But they must not be viewed as competitors. In fact, the United States pursues the 2 main goals in such a fashion as to make them mutually reinforcing. Fewer strategic offensive weapons simplifies the task of defending against redacted. I didn't even notice the redaction till, oh my gosh. Okay, so moving on. What do you think that actually said, friends? What do you think it said right here? What are we defending it against? What is happening? Oh, can I click that? It's clickable? Why is that clickable? That's weird. That's really weird. Okay, well, we'll see what that's all about there, friends. Right, where were we? Where were we? Sorry, I got like way distracted. All right, there we go. It's on the wrong page. Okay. And I'm only reading this because this is a really good. This is really good. It just really applies to what's going on. There we go. This thing is super finicky. I didn't practice, okay? I literally just made this scene like an hour ago. All right. So it basically is talking about that. So it's to discourage Soviet reliance on their preemptive offensive nuclear strategy. This, as I will discuss later, is not the approach now taken by the Soviets. Again, the common theme is START and SDI. Is enhanced security and stability. A treaty reducing the strategic nuclear arsenals of the United States and Soviet Union can contribute to the goal of enhanced security, but only if it provides for stabilizing reductions, that is, reductions in those Soviet weapons and delivery systems with the greatest first strike potential. The use an appropriate cliche. Any strategist worth his salt will tell you that it is more important to decrease first strike incentives than it is to decrease weapons inventories. And given the Soviet record on compliance and the high national security stakes of a START agreement, it is critical that these reductions be carried out under a verification regime that provides confidence for the United States that the Soviets are complying with the agreements. Strategic defenses meeting the stringent criteria of the United States, military effectiveness, survivability, and cost effectiveness will contribute to those very goals of improved security and strategic stability furthered by a good START agreement. So far, so good, right? So far, pretty spot on with current events a little bit. Ties into current events. All right. I won't read everything that we're gonna go over. I figured that would be kind of cool. So they talk about things like inhibiting Soviet first strike planning, cooperative transition to defenses. They talk about, let's see, they're like a little. All right, so it's. I'm gonna read this. All right, here we go. Just this last one. It's clear now, 5 years from President Reagan's visionary speech, that SDI's future depends not so much on the ingenuity of our scientists or the limits of technology as it does on our willingness to meet the political challenges posed by the possibility of effective strategic defenses. The road ahead is difficult, and we can expect the Soviets to remain uncooperative. We must demonstrate to them our resolute determination to move forward to a strategic balance incorporating defenses which threaten no one. There is no reason we should be wedded to an uneasy balance of nuclear terror. Rather, we should recognize that the incorporation of effective strategic defenses in the balance could serve to decrease both the chances and the threat of war. This is a real challenge of SDI. Welcome, Fellavi. Welcome. It's good to see you. So, chat, this is nuts, right? This was from 1988. This was published. Let's see. What was the date on this one? March 14th, 1988, friends. Was when that came out. This has been going on a long time. This has really been going on a long time. It's nothing new. It's just nothing new. These are things that just folks don't talk about, and I'm here. I guess I'm the guy to talk about it. I don't know. Okay. So I'm trying to find out where the other one was. What's funny is in some of these they actually say, like, if you discontinue using this system, you can bet there's going to be a problem, like essentially World War III. So I'm wondering if someone either got the technology to do this as well. I'm not quite sure. All right, so let's see. NASA released this one on it. All right, so there we go. There we go, friends. This is where I was trying to get at. All right, so this is from NASA. This is from our friends at NASA. Well, they released it, but all right, so cool. All right, so the abstract is the purpose of this paper is to survey existing and planned artificial intelligence applications to show that AI applications are sufficiently advanced for 32% of all space applications and SDI software and AI-based software. This is 1988, friends. To best define the needs that AI can fill in space and SDI programs, this paper enumerates primary areas of research and lists generic application areas. Current and planned NASA and military military space projects in AI will be reviewed. This review will be largely in the select area of expert systems. Finally, direct applications of AI to SDI will be treated. The conclusion covers the importance of AI to space and SDI applications, and conversely, their importance to AI. Again, I'm going to try to keep my comments to myself, friends, but I mean, we heard the announcement today by our fearless hero, Elon Musk, but I'm not sure what's happening with that. What's going on there? But 3 tech giants just said, like, no more AI for now. 6 months. Put it on hold. It's scary. That's scary. When you have someone who has dedicated their life and has like this just passion for AI, this interest, and for him to go, we need to put that on pause for 6 months. That's alarming. That's alarming. So talks about AI, national defenses, Soviets, ballistic missiles, all this stuff. Gee, I wonder why all this is happening now. All right, so oh, I probably should have read that. Okay, I'll read. AI covers a broad spectrum of areas of research and accordingly can find many different applications in space and SDI programs. AI includes problem solving, intelligent search strategies, natural language processing, speech recognition, robotics, knowledge and expert systems, computer vision, interesting, right? Symbolic processing, logical reasoning, knowledge representation and understanding, and neural network systems. Again, 80s. AI applications generally use what might be better termed knowledge rather than data, and frequently use heuristics, which guide trial and error searches, rather than algorithms. Some of the above areas of research may not be unique to AI, but they all come under its broad scope. Using the principles of and techniques of AI, generic application areas that have been successfully exploited are currently under development include analysis, control, debugging, design, diagnosis, repair, instruction, training, interpretation, monitoring, planning, predicting, search techniques, and synthesis. Ooh, that sounds really good. Some dark chocolate? Heck yeah. Sounds really good. Chad, I'm gonna have to move you up here. I just realized you're nowhere to be found. Why does uppies not work? Oh, I think it's all lowercase. I think all lowercase uppies. There you go. You're on the move. Yeah. All right. Let me just update this. Just 1 second. Do this. Okay. All right. All right, so there's NASA AI programs. They've stepped up its emphasis on AI research. Its Ames Research Center, Mountain View, California, has been given the assignment of taking the lead in AI research. Ames has been directed to assure that its research supports what NASA is currently doing and also its long-term requirements. NASA has placed a high priority on building smart, quote, smart systems for the future U.S./International Space Station. So this is pre-space station. That came out October 1st, so my father was no longer alive at that point. Between those two publications, something happened. Very weird. Yeah. All right, so let's go back to one of these. I believe there was another thing that was pretty intriguing. I'd probably recognize it just by looking at it. No, I didn't read this one. Oh, maybe I did. Let's see what some of these are. So again, a lot of these have been declassified. Yeah, so as you can see at the very top, it's been unclassified. Right there. It looks like they cut it off when they scanned it or whatever, but it says unclassified. Security classification of this page. Wow. Crazy. The Soviets' response to the Strategic Defense Initiative must be understood within the context of their deteriorating economic situation and need to modernize their economy. This note evaluates the defense burden to the Soviets of both an offsetting and an emulation response to the U.S. SDI effort. The analysis is conducted within the context of General Secretary Gorbachev's modernization program, which is designed to increase the productivity of economic resources. The analysis suggests that the Soviets can particularly offset a U.S. SDI effort with a ruble expenditure that is a small percentage of current defense spending. Although the Soviets may regard such a where was I? Jeez. Oh yeah, although the Soviets may regard such a response as unsatisfactory, it is important to consider the striking contrast compared to the burden of an emulation response. And then the author hypothesizes, therefore, that the Soviets will choose not to directly emulate the US SDI activities, at least until they have modernized their technical economic base. Again, I'm only presenting you with information. You draw your own conclusions. All this stuff is on the Internet Archive. Search SDI. You can't miss it. You can't miss it. That's what I did for mine, just 1988, because I was just curious what was going on exactly during that time. So yeah, very weird. Very weird. I do want to read this to you. I just kind of want to tell you the strange circumstances here. All right. So as I mentioned, my dad passed away in just really strange circumstances. Really weird. Really weird. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know. I mean, it's easy just to accept it for what it is. But it's difficult when things don't make sense. Like, they just don't add up. Love reading time. Thanks. Thanks. You know. Okay. Let's go open this. Oh yeah, so like when I requested the records, they didn't divulge. They didn't tell me about half of the stuff. Like when you. Okay. Let me slow down. Let me slow down. The thingies are all cut off. What thingies? What thingies? How about no? So anyone familiar with like military in general? I mean, obviously, we're kind of all familiar. That was dumb. Oh, yeah, it's a whole classroom. Yeah, yep. I made this like literally like an hour before we started. Like, oh. So when someone is in the military, doesn't matter for how long, when they leave, they receive what's called a DD 214 form. Okay. If you like, I mean, I'll put you over here. I don't know where to put you, Chad. There we go. My dad has 4 of those forms. You're only supposed to have 1, like literally 1. That's it. He has 4, and I have copies of all 4. And I'm not saying it's a copy of a copy of a copy. No, it's like number A, number A-1, number A-1 corrected, number A-B. Yeah, it's nuts. I'll kind of tell you exactly what it says. I have no problem. I'm just tired. Friends, there's just so much going on right now, and I'd rather, I guess for lack of better terms, educate, because I mean, this is fact, and to me, it's very relevant. In my opinion, this is all very relevant. Still going on. It's still happening. All right, so let me pull this up real quick. All right, so. Oh, and he left behind the note. He left a note, and it's not even. It's very bizarre. It's very cryptic. So that's nice. Bear with me. All right, records. Okay. All right. So when I placed the inquiry, it was a couple years back. All right. So I'm looking at A-1B corrected. I'm looking at this one. Hold on. There's a bunch of them. Hold on, friends. I'm sorry I don't have this up. Yeah, there's A1A corrected. That's a fun one. So on the DD... Wait, what the hell is that? sorry, it's supposed to be a DD214. There's another forum. Okay, great. All right. Scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Okay, never mind. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like 7 of them. So anyway, there's also DD Form 1300. So, and I would show you these, friends. Unfortunately, that it has personal information on there, like lots of personal information. But like, for instance, the DD Form 1300 is a report of a casualty. So it's report of casualty. Again, there's like, I think this one's like A1B corrected. There's a lot of them. So the ones that they provided me don't show certain things that I was provided in the past. So I was provided records from an individual who shouldn't have had them, let's just say. And so I compared notes, and it's crazy. Like, nope, that's not there. That's there. That's not there. That, you know. So on one of these forms, in the bottom left-hand corner in the DD 1300 form, it tells you where that form was distributed after the soldier died. So most of the time they just go to like their command, you know, maybe at 1 or 2 other places. No, this one went to like 5. Like, let's see, what's this one? This one only labels, it only labels 4 of them, but literally across the United States. One was his, like, one was in Philly, Charleston, Seattle, like all over the, just all over the map. I have no idea. I have no idea. I literally have no idea, like, what even happened here. Like, for real, for real. I apologize. There's a lot of paperwork here that I'm like scrolling. I'm like, okay, like, time's ticking. All right, screw it. I'm just gonna open the main file. Pause chat. Oh, let me read the letter I should see from Maryland State Police. Attached is a letter regarding your PIA request. Should you have any questions, you can either reply to this email or use the information provided with the attached letter. All right. So they said, this office is in receipt of your request for a copy of the above noted blank State Police criminal investigation reports. The blank State Police retention for criminal investigation reports is 25 years. Therefore, the reports you are requesting have been destroyed. That was January 2016. At the very I never noticed this, at the very bottom of that, you know how they usually have like a footer or something? It has the states like with an apostrophe. It says so and so's finest. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. So apparently, like, when someone dies, it doesn't matter, just 25 years, like, no record, we don't have it, we just don't have it. I gave them very, very detailed report numbers too. I knew the report numbers. I'm like, nope, we don't know what you're talking about. All right. Oh, and then all these like different awards and stuff that he received, they didn't acknowledge in the newest iteration here that I. Just bear with me. It doesn't want to. I'm gonna do this faster. Okay, could this cooperate? Maybe? So in order to download anything from Google Drive, you have to enable cookies. Cute. It's a large file. It's still not everything. That's the part that's annoying. It's a very large file, but there's nothing there. Like that should be. Yes. Is it super loud? Oh, this one dances. Okay. Sorry. I get confused. I do. Oh, and then over here, I didn't create a little zoom, but that's Chat GPT-4. That's what they're saying to put on hold for 6 months. You can literally ask it to do anything. All right. Now that's good. Like you can do something like, where is this? Write the HTML code to make a web page that says, or that provides users the ability to log in. Oops. Hit send. Ah, I let its time out. That's why. Getting distracted, but I'll get back on track, I promise. Wow. It says network error. There's no, I mean, obviously, there's a huge network error, right? There we go. And by the way, this does compile. Like it will always compile. Whether it does exactly what you want it to do, that's where the human comes in. You have to kind of proofread. Yep, this is why they want it to go away, because it just opens up. Yeah. In this code, we have a basic HTML structure with a head and a body section. Inside the body selection, we have a form element that allows users to enter their user name and password. Actually, it's pretty intense, right? Oh, what does compile mean? It means that the code can be like turned into a program, like a working program. If you have code that just isn't cohesive and it's just written improperly, it just won't compile. It won't actually run, basically. But you don't necessarily have to compile HTML, but it works, I should say. But it does things that would compile. So like, but write JavaScript. I mean, I literally could have just say write the same thing, but in JavaScript, and it would do it. Oh, thanks. Yeah, so there you go. It has the same exact effect, but that's a different language altogether. That's JavaScript. Okay. Well, that's doing its thing. Open this up. Okay. Now we're cooking. So I made the inquiry 2022. No, gosh. I made it in 2021. Got it in late 2022. So when it comes to these inquiries, friends, they are supposed to provide you with all their information, like all of their history, things like that. They didn't even acknowledge a lot of the medals, and that's part of it. Like that's basic. Like, that's basic stuff. Like they don't even acknowledge that he had certain awards that I've seen, like with my own eyes. He has a shadow box. Yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird. So I'm looking at all these different, I'm looking at these DD214s. Let's see. Oh, okay. So actually, with the DD-214, my apologies. He, anytime they leave a command and go to another command, that's usually when you get a new DD-214. But typically, they'll just consolidate them. You know what I mean? Like at the end of someone's career, they'll just go, yeah, these are all the places they've been. All right, so scrolling down. There's only one letter. It says the Navy Achievement Medal for Chief Air Traffic Controller. Then has his name. For outstanding professional achievement, superior. Actually, I was going to show this, but it has his name like in the actual body of it. He worked at a, wow, I don't know if I can even say that. It's basically a surveillance facility. Back between like early 80s. Early 80s. So he already had the Navy Achievement Medal back in like early 80s, yeah. All right, so here we go. There's the DD-1300. That one is the A1B. That went to 4. I'm probably going to come across another one soon. I can read a lot of these. All right. So, according to them, let's see. It's just like this. Okay, so their report of casualty. It says that June 1st, 1988, he was pronounced dead. Non-battle. And it says cause and circumstances, gunshot wound. Wasn't in the city. Wait a minute, it wasn't in that city either. What the heck? So it says, it gives you the date, the place, and the cause, okay? The date doesn't match his tombstone. The place doesn't match the place that they said they found him. And the cause is, yeah, I mean, says gunshot wound, but no one ever identified the body from the family. Like, no one from the family actually was like, yeah, that's him. We were told it was too gruesome to look at. It would just scar you for life. So his Navy buddy was the one that went out there and identified him. Yet that guy can't even talk about it. So, that's strange. It's very bizarre. Dude, I don't even know, like, how my own dad truly died. Like, I don't. We never saw him. Like, he just disappeared one day, and then suddenly there's a closed casket funeral like a week later. Like, what? Okay, sure. That's normal. That's all normal. I mean, these are all just insane tours of duty, friends. Sea service, 2 years, 3 months, 20 days. That was when he was just as an AC-1. Wow. That's nuts. All right. There's a lot of information. I think they kind of do that on purpose, kind of just give you a bunch of BS. Let's find out. So a lot of dates are still redacted. He did have secret clearance. So some of the clearances are here as far as it'll say like when he was granted clearance, but then and then as it goes further down, like as it gets closer and closer to like modern time, it just starts to get more and more redacted to the point that the last few entries are gone. Funny, not funny, but you know. Gosh, just wish I could show some of this. I'm trying to kind of like get to the point here. So it talks about like Washington D.C. a bunch. Some of these I don't even know what they mean. Like, why would his casualty case file be unclassified? Like, why would that? Why would it's okay? There's got to be a way for me to show you this. Because see, I don't know what some of these little markings mean. You know what I mean, friends? So I don't know. Like some of these could be like serious codes or something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't speak military. Yeah, see, I knew it. I knew it. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably gonna have that happen a lot. I'm fine with it. Yeah. Again, I don't know what some of these markings mean, so I can't really risk it, but shows that he was on the USS Oriskany, which is cool. Many years. In the 70s, apparently. Like just black bars, white out. I don't know what that page is anyway, so so it has like all the different physical fitness tests. It gives like different see, what's funny is I don't know what I'm actually looking at, so that's the hard part. Like I can't just be like, oh, this is the I'm just like, well, this has a lot of random words and numbers and little boxes to fill out that have basic things like page and date and month, but they're all blank. So I don't know what the purpose of these forms are. I don't know. And like every other form is declassified or unclassified. So it goes unclassified saying what was unclassified, and then it gives the report of casualties. Okay, here we go. Finally. A-1. That went to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations. The next one, again, you should only have one report of casualty. I'm just saying, usually that you can only die once. This is A1A corrected. This went to 5 places again. Some of these being like, I don't know, Washington, D.C. You don't usually, like when a soldier dies, they usually don't notify Washington. Just saying. At least not to my knowledge. All right, and then the clean version, the A1-B, which only went to 4, as we mentioned. Oh, there's another copy of this? What the heck? There's another A1, but it's I can't do this, friends. This is just wow. Serial clearance remarks. Oh, it's funny, not funny. Funny, not funny. Okay. This is what I want to show you. Let's do studio mode because it helps me make sure that there's no leaks. Okay. All right, so just trying to make sure that I don't do something stupid. so I guess this is the best we're going to be able to do. All right, friends. Oh, jeez. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for this. I don't care at this point. I mean, it's redacted anyway, so what's the point? All right. All right, so what you're looking at, it should be line by line. It should, let me say this. This is difficult. This is very difficult, friends. This is difficult. There we go. It's like, where is it? So this is supposed to tell me these are supposed to be line by line. So the first column should say when he started. The next line should give the number of months, or the column. Next would be the discharge date, then the number of years, months, days, then the reason. So the reason would be right about, all right, so this would be when he enlisted in that specific location. The number of months when he was discharged from that position. Then the year, month, day, and then the reason. And then, let's see, this would be, it says serve for transfer. I don't know what that means. And then whatever this is, it's supposed to be year, month, day. So this should be a full date. So they should all look like this, at least in the first, right? But right here, we're missing the year, like the last digit of the year, the entire year, same here, right? Let's see, go over one. When he was discharged from there, we're missing the month. We're missing, I don't even know what we're missing there. You see where I'm going with this? And then this down here at the bottom, friends, this right here, these are more lines. Like there's supposed to be like 2 more at least. But from what I'm seeing, it's probably a full sheet. This is, yeah. It sucks. It sucks. No, for real, watch. I'll do this. You'll love this. Look, that's the page. Oh. Yeah. So almost the entire document is basically like this, like all these pages I'm talking about. So that's why I'm having difficulty trying to say what I'm seeing, because that's what I'm seeing. It's, I mean, hey, you know, when you want to know what happened to, you know, your own parent, you'd expect a little something more than that, but then it's our government, so yeah, I don't know what to say. I have no idea what to say about it. Super weird, but hey, take it for what it is, you know? Okay. Like, if you're going to unalive yourself with a weapon, and why would you bring a full box of ammo with you? Why would you do that? On purpose, like, not that he would just carry a box of ammo on his motorcycle all the time. That doesn't make sense. But they found that in the report that was destroyed that I have. So how's that possible? Not how it's possible, but like that is another thing. Like, you know, yet another. Very bizarre, friends. Very strange indeed. Yeah. No, I'm sure I'm gonna get shut down. I really don't care. As far as like it just goes, I just, if it happens, it's just confirms all of this. 100%. So, as you can see, apparently, the work he was doing still applies to modern times, and therefore is still redacted. And you saw it, to hell and back. Really, I mean, it's every page is like this, friends. And it's all, oh, this is a good one too. Surveillance. He was the section leader and controller. Assists pilots in effective and safe landing during periods of low/reduced weather conditions. It's so blurry, by means of precision and surveillance radar. That's pretty cool. That's really cool. Kind of gives a few dates. 74. So he was doing that in 1974. He was already guiding planes in. Pretty cool. Thanks. You're sweet. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, there's nothing here. Like, just literally. So, pretty disillusioning. Yeah. So this is basically where we're at with modern day society, friends. I personally believe that the AI revolution is upon us. Not in the whole like, oh, they're taking over the world and blah blah blah, they're gonna enslave humans. No, it's to where we've been given like that over there, like the chat GPT, to just play with as the public. So you can only imagine what they're actually doing on the next level, you know, at the government level. So I think that's what's happening, is causing a disruption in like the financial systems, defense systems. Everyone's just going gung-ho because that's just where we're at. This is the next thing, you know. We didn't know what the internet was back in like the 90s until, you know, it caught on, sort of thing. The government knew about it. We didn't. They knew about DARPANET. We didn't. Oh, and Felby, these are just like, this is from the Internet Archive. So when you search different things, it's going to give you stuff from all over. So these just so happen to be games that folks made after, just modeled after, just to kind of make it all space and futuristic and whatnot. But lots of great stuff here. Something that came up, let's see if it's here. There. So it's like SDI. Hold on. It's like SDI. These are, you know, just all related. Soviet Union's up there. So it's like all this stuff. And then, oh yeah, strategic planning framework for predicting and evaluating Soviet interests in arms control. Come on. That was 1956. Oh, I'm sorry, published in August 1st, 1988. So this is what I'm talking about right there. If you don't know what this is, friends, we're about to dig into it. Yes. Now we're getting into something. This, I'll read this. It says, extraterrestrial entities and technology recovery and dismissal. Top secret. I'm assuming that says magic, but it's supposed to be like magic eyes only. Warning. This is a top secret document containing compartmentalized information essential to the national security of the United States, etc., etc., etc. As we open it. So I don't know, I guess someone just kind of paraphrases or whatever, but the actual pages are further down. Scrolling. All right, so some of these, they actually just took what was written, because it's difficult to read. It's from like the 1940s. They kind of transcribed it there. I mean, see, you can tell it's a little difficult to read, right? But some of these are really cool. Let's go to this, because again, I wouldn't show you this if it didn't apply. I'm going to go up and read the one that says double top secret. So yeah, there is like the next level thing there. All right, so it says on February 22nd, 1944, Franklin D. Roosevelt writes a double top secret memo on the White House stationery for the, quote, Special Committee on Non-Terrestrial Science and Technology, end quote. Triple dogs, yeah, I think so. Something like that. All right, so it says both the title and the content clearly allude to extraterrestrial life. The former using the word, quote, non-terrestrial, end quote, and the letter talks about the, quote, coming to grips with the reality that our planet is not the only one harboring intelligent life in the universe, end quote. Remarkably, the last four words are exactly the title of Sagan's book. So Carl Sagan, by the way, co-authored the Soviet scientist Shklovsky. Clearly, the situation was that he had recovered at least one craft by then, probably the Cape Girardeau crash of 1941, and came to realize that wealth and technology that lay there for the pickings. Apparently, the Special Committee on Non-Terrestrial Science and Technology had been working sometime in order to define clear action. I just told that I gotta fix that. I didn't mean to do that. Right, so yeah, the planet's not the only one harboring intelligent life in the universe. So remarkably, the four last words, blah, 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 we read that, and apparently, all right, so they've been working in order to define a clear action. So Dr. Bush had presumably presented a proposal from the committee for an aggressive separate program to apply non-terrestrial know-how to the war effort, but FDR thought that it would threaten the atomic bomb program. Thus, he carefully avoids saying no, but says that we will take every advantage of such wonders that have come to us after we have won the war. Very gracious letter. The classification, quote, double top secret, was a legitimate one. So we're currently, as of the writing of this, May 2000, requesting copies of similar correspondence from the Roosevelt Library for format and typography comparison. The signature, although not a strong discriminant, is consistent with other authentic signatures. So there's a lot in this file. I won't go over it all, but a lot of it sort of, I mean, it's now I'm reaching, obviously, like, you know, to tie everything together. But I mean, if you kind of just open your mind for a minute, who's to say that's not actually happening? You know what I mean? You know, could just be the fact that there's new technology that you know, like, who's going to use it first? Who's going to show their hand? You know, who knows? I'm starting to believe the whole, like, simulation thing, friends. I really am, like, for real. You know, but it doesn't have the computational power. The universe itself is the computer. But, like, think about it this way: if you're making a game, right, it doesn't load the entire game when you're playing it. So, like, as you're, you know, navigating your character, it's not saying like, oh, load everything that you can't see. It's only loading what you can see. So if you kind of think about it, you could save a bunch of computational power if it only works, say if it works on a quantum level, the algorithm is collapsed by observing. So by us observing, it collapses these algorithms, which makes us be able to see, like, reality, like what we perceive as reality. But it does need to, like, deal with the minutia of everything else. Interesting thought. Just interesting thought. Just want to leave that there, just in case you're interested. But yeah, I highly encourage you to just, like, go through these. If you get bored, the whole reason I'm showing you these again, because this is so close to what's happening nowadays. And I don't know what happened. I wonder if, I don't know. I have no idea. All I can say is that the SDI eventually turned into Space Force. So we laugh at Space Force, but I don't because I know what they're actually doing. I know what they're actually like dealing with. It's not like, oh, we're here to make sure the astronauts buckle up. Like, no, it's not like that. It's some next level stuff, friends. Like really next level stuff. Things that we just wouldn't be able to comprehend. Probably shock us, like more so than. But yeah. Anyway, I figured I would just kind of share that with you. I don't really have too much else to talk about on this because it is a rabbit hole. I did actually ironically look at this. So this came out, what was this? 1989. So very beginning of 1989. This gives, it's talking about experiments using photosensor arrays. Thanks. Talk about photosensor arrays, and it's just insane to think about the technology that they were working with. They're actually talking, like in this, I read this, they were talking about how your vision, like when you focus on something, you can only focus on one thing. And so they're talking about how would an AI photosensor array be able to track multiple targets. And so they realized that it's crazy. Sorry, the experiments they ran here are just nuts. And then they also give schematics to some of these systems. But the thing that's interesting is that to me, some of these just don't quite look like schematics, like or even electrical. So let's see, what are they talking about here? Okay, so like tracking essentially. If you're into like sciencey, geeky stuff, this is the pinnacle. We're riding the wave here, friends. We're riding the wave together. So lots of math. I mean, lots of math. I mean, right. So it really goes into a bunch of detail about like what they were doing and how it applies to like an overall system. But this is just one tiny little piece of what's a giant puzzle. So MathCAD computation, come on. Pixel quantization. Like what does this mean? What is pixel quantization? Again, 89. Hit or no hit decisions. So, I mean, you can assume that this stuff was eventually put into like guidance systems and used for advanced weapons of warfare. So, anyway, super cool stuff. Just not sure how you go from air traffic controller to just national defense like that, but hey, that's the whole point. But yeah, and all the mysterious deaths. Well, the thing is that they dubbed this, nicknamed it Star Wars. They actually called it the Star Wars program. It's what it's known as, like colloquially to the public. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool in my opinion. But as you can see, it's very risky. Very risky. As you can see, there's like the whole, whole suicide pact there, friends. Let's see. This one. Oh, it actually says, so it says it. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Let's, I shouldn't have done that. Yeah. I shouldn't inhale water. Right. All right. So, let's see, the scientist's death conspiracy. All right, so it says the G.C. Marconi scientist's deaths conspiracy theory claims that between 1982 and 1990, Remember, my dad passed away in 88. A number of British-based GEC Marconi scientists and engineers who worked out the Stingray torpedo project and United States Strategic Defense Initiative related projects died under mysterious circumstances. Citation needed. It's fine. You're fine. The first deaths to gain widespread attention and be linked to the theory came in 1986 to 1987. In just about a year, 6 different scientists died in mysterious circumstances, 3 of whom who worked on the Marconi Company, a subsidiary of the defense group, General Electric. Most deaths were ruled suicides or accidents. One died after driving his car, which had been packed full of petrol containers, gas if you're from the States, into a building. So talked about that earlier in the thing. Again, another one tied a rope around his neck and a tree, drove off in his car, thereby decapitating himself. A third died of carbon monoxide poisoning in his garage. No links were found between them. At the time, some opposition lawmakers in British Parliament called for an investigation into the deaths. Proponents of the conspiracy theory linked the deaths like a quote or James Bond-esque set of assassinations, variably blaming the Soviet spy agency KGB, American spies, or even British spies. Proponents of the theory claim that the deaths were linked because of the scientists working on the same few classified projects, although most of the scientists had not been working closely together and were working on separate, mostly unclassified projects. All right, so just trying to figure out how to find it. This is a good one. I've looked at this one. So again, we looked at this. All right, so many deaths were so bizarre they left coroners unable to determine their cause. Others were judged to be suicides and accidents despite clear evidence to the contrary. Most of the victims were computer scientists working for Marconi Electric Systems and related companies on top secret defense projects, including the U.S. Strategic Defense Initiative. Due to the nature of their work and the oddness of their deaths, by 1987 the national and international press had latched onto the story. Were the deaths sabotaged by a foreign government or some kind of Cold War plot? Stay tuned. No, I'm just joking. Tony Collins, a correspondent for the UK's Computer Weekly, started to receive reports of deaths amongst computer scientists and engineers in the mid-80s. Over the next few years, he would file a series of stories on the deaths, eventually finding 25 cases he felt were connected. Again, none of this occurred in the US, so kind of reaching for if it in fact carried over to the States, then yeah, we got a whole other thing going on. So maybe that's why it's still redacted. Start sparkling an international war. Wait a minute. All right. So in 1990, he wrote a book, Open Verdicts, which concluded the spate of deaths were suspicious. Collins suspected some kind of plot, but was unable to come up with any firm conclusions as to its true nature. Was there really a plot to murder the scientists? Evidence for number one, and I love this. They give different scenarios, so that way it doesn't just pigeonhole you into like, okay, this is how it is. It's more like, what if it's this? What if it's that? Here are the arguments supporting. Here are the arguments against it. You know, almost here. All right. So if it were suspicious circumstances, so the story began. Oh, never mind. They don't do it that way. My apologies. I thought they did break it up in that way. They're actually breaking it down. All right. So the story began in March 1982 with the death of senior computer scientist Dr. Keith Bowden, the contractor for GEC Marconi, Britain's major high-tech defense company. One night, after attending a social function in London, Bowden drove his car across a dual carriageway, aka highway, and plunged off a bridge down an embankment, and into an abandoned rail yard. He died instantly. The police said Bowden was drunk and he was driving too fast, but his wife and solicitor believed otherwise. Friends who were with Bowden that night denied he had been drinking. Bowden's solicitor hired an accident investigator to examine the wreck. Somebody had swapped the normally pristine tires on Bowden's Rover with a set that were worn and old. 3 years later, radar designer Roger Hill killed himself with a shotgun, so did my dad, at his home. Not at his home, but you know what I mean. Later that year, Jonathan Wash died after plunging from a hotel window. The coroner returned an open verdict. They fall out of an open window and they call it an open verdict, but like when it's super weird stuff, they're like, yeah, they did it. More puzzling still was the death of Bimal Dijibhai, 24, who jumped off the Clifton Suspension Bridge in Bristol in August of 1986. Dijibhai, I can't say his name properly, I apologize, had been working at Marconi on computer control systems for Stingray torpedoes. Another open verdict was returned. He'd been found with his pants around his ankles and a needle-sized puncture wound in his buttocks. The Bristol coroner was concerned by this. It was a mystery then, and remains a mystery now. Perhaps the most disturbing of all, the deaths occurred 2 months later. Arshad Sharif, 26, another computer scientist who worked on satellite guidance systems at Marconi, died in the oddest circumstances imaginable. Come on. Sharif also traveled to Bristol, tied one end of a ligature to his neck, the other to a tree, then jammed his foot on the accelerator of his car and decapitated himself. The day after his death, Sharif had been acting odd, or the day before his death, Sharif had been acting oddly and was seen paying for accommodations in a rooming house with a bundle of high-denomination banknotes. A relative summoned to identify the body noticed something suspicious about his car. What appeared to be a metal rod was laying on the floor of the next car next to the accelerator, or lying on the floor of the car next to the accelerator. Had it been used to wedge the pedal down? The coroner wasn't happy. This is past coincidence. I will not be completing this inquest until I know how two men with no connection to Bristol came to meet the same end here. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you need quite a bit of speed. And that's just like, that's just too much. Like no one's ever, like, that's the only individual, I think in history that's ever done that, you know? Again, like in a dark way, it's creative. I'll give them that. It's pretty creative. Don't do it. I'm just saying. It's. So he never did find out why. Both men were suspected to be working on a top secret project called Cosmos, which involved underwater guidance systems, establishing a further connection between the pair. Thousands of people worked in the UK's defense industry in the mid-80s. And these deaths, spread over 3 years, could easily be dismissed as coincidences. Indeed, nobody at the time made any connection. But moving into 1987 and 1988, the pace of the deaths massively increased, and the UK press and some MPs began to join the dots. And we begin the cluster of 87 and 88. 1987 started with the death of Richard Pugh, another computer expert in the defense industry and consult to the MOD. Pugh's body was found in his flat, so his apartment, his feet bound, a plastic bag on his head, and a thick rope coiled around his body. The coroner's verdict was that it was an accident due to sexual misadventure. Something you need to be aware of, friends, is that a lot of these espionage, like any of these, if they do hits, if you want to call them that, they try to add an additional degree of shame. So, not saying that this stuff doesn't happen, but usually you'll see this. Like, this is an MO. You'll see this a lot in suspicious deaths. You know what I mean? It's just so a lot of the time it's done on purpose, so that way like families don't talk about it or won't divulge a lot of details. And there's a reason behind it. There's a psychological thing. Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. Just days later, another scientist engaged in a top secret work for the MOD, Dr. John Britton, died in his own garage of carbon monoxide poisoning. The next month, another Marconi engineer, David Skeels, also died of carbon monoxide poisoning, found in his car with a hose pipe connected to the exhaust. Also in February, 2 more defense engineers and scientists died. Victor Moore from an overdose, Peter Peepel, yet another victim of carbon monoxide poisoning. People's death was particularly troubling. Having spent an evening with friends, he and his wife returned home, and People went to put away the car. The next morning, his wife found his body jammed underneath the car with his mouth next to the exhaust pipe. Police were unconvinced that it was suicide because it seemed impossible he could have maneuvered his body into the odd position it was found. An open verdict was ultimately returned. These are kind of like one-offs, right? All these just magically are one-offs. Never heard of that. John Whiteman supposedly drowned himself in his bathtub, the body surrounded by pills and empty alcohol bottles. How cliche. Yet the autopsy revealed no trace of drugs or alcohol in his body. Funny, not funny, just again, friends, just dark. In March, David Sands, a senior scientist working on computer-controlled radar at Marconi, at a Marconi sister company, made a sudden U-turn in his car and crashed at high speed into an empty cafe. His vehicle was inexplicably loaded up with cans of gas, causing the car to be completely consumed by a fireball. Sands was only identified with his reference to his dental records. That's really messed up. In April, in almost identical fashion to Richard Pugh, at the start of 1987, Mark Weisner, who was 24, was found dead with a plastic bag on his head with and cling film wrapped around his face. The verdict of death was sexual misadventure. The previous year, Marconi purchased defense electronics firm Plessey. Within a month, between May and June of 87, 2 of its scientists were dead. Michael Baker, 22, in May, and Frank Jennings, 60, in June. At the start of 1988, lab technician Russell Smith, who was 23, jumped off a cliff in Cornwall. A senior computer engineer at Marconi, Trevor Knight, was the victim of yet another suicide by car exhaust pipe. I don't know. They kind of leave that. For interpretation, I guess. In August, there were 2 gruesome electrocutions of senior figures at Marconi that are some of the most suspicious of all the deaths. Alastair Beckham, who is 50, was a computer engineer who is believed was working on a top secret pilot programs for America's Strategic Defense Initiative. After some light Sunday afternoon gardening, Beckham retired to his shed, attached wires to his chest, pushed them into the power socket, and a handkerchief jammed in his mouth hit the power. Sorry, I messed something up earlier I mixed 2 of these up, combined 2 stories. They're both there. Beckham's wife was entirely unconvinced her husband committed suicide. Beckham was highly secretive about his work, and just hours after his death, men of the Ministry of Defense arrived at a scene and took away several documents and files from Beckham's home. In similar but more gruesome fashion, Marconi director John Ferry, who was 60, jammed stripped wires into his own tooth fillings and electrocuted himself. Could all these grisly suicides really be a coincidence? But now several stories in the press had appeared questioning whether there was actually some kind of KGB or Eastern Bloc conspiracy to kill the scientists. Several MPs, military police, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, could be wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about, never mind. And trade union leader Clive Jenkins called for an inquiry into the deaths. Jenkins wrote that the deaths were, quote, statistically incredible, end quote. and spoke of the concern amongst his members of these, quote, clusters of suicides, violent deaths, and murders, end quote. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, they're very creative. It's messed up. Very messed up. The conservative government of Margaret Thatcher dismissed calls for an inquiry, claiming the deaths were not statistically unusual and were just, quote, coincidences, end quote, perhaps exacerbated by high levels of stress in the defense industry. Just, so, I mean, it's stressful. It's stressful, friends. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this you're dealing with some crazy next level stuff. But for them to all do this is kind of that's just too sus. It's too sus. It's never happened in history. This is it. Untypical suicide methods. All right, so we're going to talk about this. So Professor Colin Pritchard, a note expert in mental illness and suicides, thinks at least some of the deaths were statistically uncommon. Whilst it's true suicide is one of the most prevalent causes of early death in men, especially young men. My dad was 35. I don't know if I ever mentioned that, but he was 35 when it happened. He was 35. Oh, and he was found next to his motorcycle. So he rode his motorcycle like a half mile into like thick, heavy woods. So that's the thing, with a shotgun and several other things that he was carrying. So these all make sense, right? While it's true, yeah, I made it a point to try to outlive him. I did, but good Lord. Yeah, 35. Yep. And that's with 10 years in the military. So yeah, he was a salt. What do they call him? A salty dog? Is that what they are? I don't know. Professor Colin Pritchard, blah, blah, blah. We already went through that. All right. All right, so it just makes... Okay, so Pritchard cites that the cases of at least 4 of the men that shared unusual elements. I didn't read that right. Anyway, all 4 men had complained to friends and family that they had been tasked, quote, strange, impossible, and unscientific tasks by their employers. All 4 men committed suicide in incredibly violent and bizarre ways. Pritchard has studied numerous suicide cases and thinks such extreme suicide methods are normally only associated with people suffering from severe mental breakdowns to the extent that they would be unable to even hold down jobs. Think about that for a second. Think about that. A lot of these folks were doing just fine. They were just killing it. Like that's horrible. They were doing a really good job. No issues. None of them had marks against their record. In fact, speaking of my dad, it shows conduct and stuff. If it were a report card, they would be A pluses. Literally not a single ding to anything, to his conduct throughout his entire history. Nothing. So someone who would typically unalive themselves, you'd see the deterioration or some kind of indication that something was wrong. But no, just one day, end of story. Oh, it's Salty Dog Cafe. Nice. Sounds good. Yes, these men are all employed up to the day of their deaths, and none had shown any sign of mental illness or other disturbance. All the men had recently found new jobs and were preparing to leave within days of their deaths. Likewise, all 4 men had recently arranged appointments with their MPs. What was strange, unscientific projects that the men were complaining of, sorry, they didn't write this properly. What were the strange, unscientific projects that the men were complaining of, and why had they all booked appointments with their MPs? Had they stumbled on something in their jobs that had worried them? Something that led to them being silenced? Oh, here we go. Sexual misadventure as method of murder. Several of the deaths were put down to sex games gone wrong. But intelligence expert Conrad Black says death by sexual misadventure is a common method of disguising murder in the world of espionage. Black told the Daily Record disposing of an enemy and making it look like a perverted fantasy gone wrong is in the training manuals of every spy agency from MI6 to Mossad. sex game cover is a very useful mechanism in a murder. Now, not only does it provide a disguise for the actual means and method of death, it trashes the reputation of the victim and blunts the energy of any subsequent investigation. Foreign sabotage. The Marconi deaths weren't the only unexplained violent and unusual deaths among defense workers in Europe in the 1980s. In Western Germany in 1986, there were several incidents involving individuals associated with America's SDI. There you go, dubbed as Star Wars by the press. The Strategic Defense Initiative was an ambitious program to create a space-based anti-nuclear weapon shield, which would have rendered Soviet nuclear capability useless. That was a car bomb. Just a car bomb. In July, Karl-Heinz Kurtz, I don't think I'm saying that right, a director of Simons, I'm sorry I said that really wrong, and an SDI contractor was killed by a car bomb in Munich. Later in 86, Gerald von Braunmühl, a senior advisor in SDI negotiations, was killed. There were other attacks on firms related to SDI, and German prosecutors believed they were been targeted. Okay, I know it's not me. Okay. Similar deaths and disappearances among defense figures in Sweden and Italy occurred at the same time, giving rise to the suspicion that there was an Eastern Bloc plot to attack Western defense capability and the SDI. And do you think they brought it to America? They might have brought it to America, friends. Oh, interesting. No, they make a lot of medical stuff now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think they got into like the whole medical, like, what am I trying to say? They used to make hard drives, I think, way back. I think it was Seagate. I don't know. Attempting to undermine, blah, blah, blah. It's not uncommon to murder scientists. US, UK, and Israel have all been known to strategically stage accidents to remove high-ranking enemy scientists for political ends. In recent years, at least 4 top Iranian nuclear scientists have been killed by Israel's Mossad in an attempt to derail Iran's nuclear program. Killing targets in a foreign country is also not uncommon. In 1978, dissident Georgy Markov was murdered on Waterloo Bridge in London by agents of the Bulgarian secret police aided by the KGB. Many of their Marconi scientists were involved either directly or peripherally in the Star Wars program and other related projects. Could their strange deaths actually been a series of Russian or East German orchestrated murders designed to scuttle the SDI? Oh, here we go. Never mind. We're going to talk about evidence against. Let's do this. So we heard all the reasons why it would be that. Let's hear about why it wasn't. The British government, Marconi, and many in the press blamed stress in the high-pressure defense industry for the cluster of suicides. Stress has often been cited as a problem in the secret defense industry and may have been a contributing factor in the cluster of suicides. It's the most common form of death in men aged 20 to 49, sadly. The age bracket in which most of all Marconi scientists fell into. It would therefore not be unexpected to find a fair number of suicides in a male-dominated occupation, especially one that operates under such tight secrecy. Some of the widows commented on their husbands were unable to talk about their secret work. If they were having trouble with the jobs, the fact that they may have been unable to discuss the situation with their loved ones may have been another contributing factor. So, very creepy. Very creepy. Very creepy. From what I understand, my mom said they weren't fighting. It was we were taking a nap. I was a little kid. I was like 4. I was a tiny kid. So we were down for naps and we just left. Yo, dude. You're here for the tapes. I don't have the tapes. They're still in, I think they're in storage. Last I checked, but I have no idea. I have no clue. If the storage unit is still alive and well, then so are the tapes. Lots of content. How are you doing? How are you doing? Welcome. We're just going over some really interesting things, in my opinion. So, as actually you would know, my father killed himself, and it was under very suspicious circumstances. We're talking about other scientists that did the exact same thing. 25 other scientists that did the exact same thing that were part of the same program, and they all did it around like between 84 and 89, we'll say. So my dad did it in 88. So coincidence? I don't know. Make that determination, friends. You make that. Let's go somewhere else. Let's just switch gears here, friends. Let's go to our club. Just lighten the mood, I guess. Just lighten the mood. Got really heavy. Oh shoot. I don't know where to begin. Like, all I know is like it's basically myself and it's just my bro. You want to be the purple one? Let's see what Mira says. It's really good to see you. I missed you. It's been a long time. I thought you were gone forever. It's actually sad.
Hello. It's good to hear your voice. How is it going?
Oh, it's going all right, Mira. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
So, Mira, would you say hello to chat, please?
Sure.
Let's get rid of these sheep. Fast.
That's exactly what I plan to do.
All right, say hello to chat.
Hello to chat.
Literally, that's funny.
It is.
Mira, where are your normal clothes?
I don't have any formal clothes.
We got to get you some formal clothes. Here in
Yeah,
Salem,
that'd be
Salem,
nice.
Oregon, with me. Living the dream. Killing it.
I'm in for that.
She actually does have clothing. I think this would be an old clock on the wall. The store is down, or it was down the last
Nice.
time we did this. So
I'd like a bunch
she
of new clothes. Oh, that's right.
so it just defaulted her back to the regular skin there. All right.
Oh well. She has really pretty skin.
Oh wow. Yeah, so it's just like we're all spread out. We're just everywhere. Crossing the entire
Right?
US.
Skin perfection.
I'm just glad
Your
I left
skin
Florida.
is
That's all I
amazing.
can say. That
I'm
place was
entirely impressed.
toxic. This was toxic.
Gorgeous skin. Ugh, I love it. Also, you
Yeah,
have
it's
nice
super
skin.
nice. Just like got the outdoors. It's good for your mind, body, and spirit, I guess, if you will.
Beautiful skin. This is what I strive for. Your skin is flawless in a totally natural way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we're just not gonna do that. Yeah, that was actually sad. I missed. I mean, I guess it's kind of good I got out of there when I did. It was like 98, I believe. I'm just glad I got out of there, but at the same time, it was sad. You know, probably would have enjoyed staying there a little bit longer, kind of enjoying the rest of my childhood, but you know, had no choice. Had no choice. There we go. There's a dumpster here. Got out when you were 20. Hey, good for you. Good for you. Let's see. Got the club mode on. Love it. There we go.
Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
All right. Now, a word from our sponsors. So dumb. Got a lot of these. Let's see, what's this one? There's a couple of these. One, I didn't program this one. I'll do something fun real quick. Jeez. Yeah, there's just so much going on. Hey, Blaine. Been lurking, I see. Been lurking. We'll just, we'll wrap it up, friends. It's fun. It's a lot of fun going down memory lane there. There's lots of stuff going on. Oh, you've been lurking. Nice. Yeah, so, I mean, what we talked about, it's kind of all intertwined with what's going on. You know, we got AI, we got national defense, we got the Soviets, we got all sorts of stuff happening, friends. This is many decades in the making, several decades. So we're watching the I guess the tipping point. I don't know what you want to call it, but we're entering in a new age of some kind. I don't know what it is, but it's raising a lot of questions to where we're gonna have to rethink a lot of things, like how do we handle the finance industry? How do we handle, I mean, everything. So I think that's why there's just so much upheaval. It's just my opinion, but I believe that as long as we just continue to stick together, friends, just as a people, like I'm talking like around the world, just stick, get back to basics, friends. Just be kind to your fellow human. That's all you need. That's all you got to do. That's it. Things will just work themselves out eventually. Certain things, obviously, yes, they won't. But for the most part, with some goodwill, we'll see some improvements. I believe so. Wow. Friends, thank you very much. I have to thank you. There's an offline little activity here. Hold on. We played this.
Hey, I get to wear a tube top.
An anonymous user gifted a tier 1 sub to Spider Wilkie.
Way to go. Thank you, Anonymous. Thank you for gifting that sub to Spider Wilkie. Spider Wilkie is an OG. Just like MJL. The silent assassin. I love it. But friends, I will be back Friday. I will be back. Loving this, friends. We're going to continue this saga. We may not do it on Friday. It just depends on what's going to happen in the news. But yeah, just check all those sources out. I'll actually post a link in Discord so that way you can kind of just jump to it. That way you don't have to go to like all these sources, search it. Friends, thank you for being here. I will be back. Thanks. Please take care of yourselves and take care of one another. It's very important right now. I'll see you Friday. See ya.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
I have wasted all my hard work.